Hi, my name's Nathaniel Shaw, and I tried to take my own life.
I was quite drunk at the time it actually happened, but I was not thinking about the effect. It just had to happen. I just had to go.
Suicidal, it feels like you're in a trance. So it feels like you could be in a room full of people, but you feel like you're the only person in the room. And then it becomes quiet, you become numb, and then you just drop, like you go from like 100 to 0.
The pain that I felt, that when I was going through that particular dark time, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. When I got injured that day, it was like someone had jumped into my chest and ripped out my heart. Because that walk from the training pitch to the treatment room was probably the longest walk of my life.
So I felt incredibly isolated, and depression is quite a self-isolating thing anyway. So leading up to it, I felt alone and with no way of fixing that.
And you become lower and lower and you spiral down to a point like you just start questioning your own existence. You become confident about not wanting to be here.
It's hard to quantify in words, really, the way that I felt at the time. But it felt inescapable, it just felt like I was boxed in. It was just me, I was just alone in this just blackness. I just didn't feel like I had any other way out than to end everything.
You don't just become suicidal in one day. It's something that builds up over time.
I've had many bad months where I didn't want to fight and I was tired.
So you'd start crying for no reason. You'd be coming like to and from the shop crying.
It had become more of a frequent and more of a sort of urgent, this has to happen. Like, I'm actually going to do this, because I'd always thought about it. I mean, for probably 14 years by that point, I'd thought it would be easier if I was dead.
At 17 years old, I made my professional debut for Crystal Palace. Ended up scoring on my debut. It was the best goal of my life.
I've been involved in bars for about 12 years. My first bar job was in April of 2007. It was quite an insane sort of experience, really working with all of my friends, and it felt like a party all of the time.
I was 17 when I noticed that I was mentally ill, like bad. I was doing really well in college because I was supposed to go on a scholarship to Florida. And I was passing all my exams. I got the top mark in maths, and then I just got depressed. I couldn't get out of my bed. But then obviously I didn't know what depression was. I just didn't know why I wasn't getting up.
My own, I guess, issues came from probably my sister taking her life at the time she did. And I played the following Saturday and didn't really deal with it properly. Didn't have no counselling, didn't see anyone, didn't talk about it to anyone, just tried to get on with it.
So when did you realise that you had mental health problems?
It was just a sort of a realisation over a period of years when I was, I don't know, in my sort of mid-teens, that just something wasn't sitting right, something wasn't really settled. I didn't feel settled.
What I always described, and I think what probably a lot of other people would have described, as quite an angry kid. I was quite heavily bullied, but also my attendance was appalling, and I've also drunk quite heavily throughout a lot of my life.
Injuries took over my mind. I loved playing football. When that was getting taken away from me without my control, I found it hard to cope with that. And I wasn't ready to retire. I wasn't prepared to retire. And it fell into a very horrible place where I just didn't feel the need to exist anymore.
Yeah, I felt a bit like, I don't know, I thought I was being a bit lazy. I didn't get it, so I didn't understand. I obviously knew I went lazy because I couldn't get out of my bed, but like when you look at everyone else, like if you used to go to say to someone, like, I don't feel well, like they're just gonna say you're lazy, because back then, mental health didn't really exist. It's like if you said something was up, someone would find a solution to it and just tell you to like move on or someone's going through worse, something like that. So you just don't speak to anyone about it. Because I didn't understand what was going on. So it's probably just a cry for attention.
If you don't feel like you do have an outlet of somebody to speak to, then you're more likely to resort to what can feel like the only other option at times.
You feel a bit embarrassed. You don't really want to reach out. I know it's different now. A lot of people are reaching out, but you don't really want people to see you struggle. And especially as a man, you don't think it's like, you're not manly enough to be like, you know what, I'm feeling these type of feelings.
I just truly believed that life would be better without me. Your mind can break down, no matter who you are. It may look so selfish from the outside, and it may look so like, oh, get over yourself, like you was playing football at the time, earning lots of money. It's so much deeper than that. Well, everyone goes through life. And everyone things happen in life and just get on with it. Sometimes it's not that straightforward.
How difficult was it for you to open up about your mental health?
At the start, it was very difficult. It's always the man in the films, that looks cool with the muscles, and the guy that always, he defeats anything. So we're not taught to open up as men. And I know people say man up, and I don't think that's the right way to look at it.
I think strength is to be able to talk about this sort of stuff, really. I'm not calling myself courageous, but I think actually being able to have these conversations despite the stigma is one of the most courageous things you can do, really.
Even now I still do it, but I just feel vulnerable at the time. I don't think people realise that, because people are like, oh, you're so open about it, but it's like, even putting that out there for a while, like I don't want to look back at it, I don't want to read no comments. I just want to put it out there, like pretty much make myself naked, like I'm doing this for other people, just so they can do the same. If you go to the gym, you don't lift weights for a day and get big. It's just like with health, you've got to work hard on it. So I just believe, you've got to have that patience and just know that, with time, you will heal.
Go and tell someone, go and tell a loved one that, you're struggling, you're not doing too well. You find the way best for your journey. Everyone's different. Calling up someone and speaking to a stranger might work for someone, might not work for someone else. Speaking to a loved one, that might be all you need.
I'm in therapy, which I would never want to push my beliefs on anybody else, but it has helped me to have somebody to talk to. It's psychodynamic therapy, which is the sort of cliche, let's talk about your family, how does that make you feel type thing, which again, I'm kind of initially made me cringe, the idea of it, but just having an outlet. I'm doing better than I remember ever doing in the last 10 years or so. I've found a job that is more than I could have ever really hoped or dreamed for, to be honest. I'm not cured. I kind of feel like sometimes it can be a life sentence, but it's how you play your cards, really. Like there'll be people in my situation. Like I don't want them to get to the place where I was, because if my attempt was successful, then I won't be here. It's not like I stopped what I was doing, it just didn't work. I've been there, I know what it's like. So if I can prevent someone or relate to someone doing that, then that's what I'm gonna do. I'd love to have some big soundbite or some great bit of alliteration or something that people could write on my gravestone, but I don't. I felt like you felt, I felt like you feel, and I don't anymore.